Thank you. Erev Tov, everyone. In the description of the procession of the tribes of Israel in the desert of Sinai, the Torah points out to us that every tribe had an identifying flag that represented the Shevet, represented the tribe, and that, so to speak, was the rallying point upon which the tribe united in their march through the desert. So the concept of a flag is discussed by the Meforshim. What is it supposed to mean? And the Meforshim ask a general question, which is that there was no national flag. Each of the flags represented one of the tribes, but there was no national flag that represented the Jewish people as a whole. So there are many, many interpretations and ideas regarding the flags. The Medrash teaches us, first of all, that each of the flags was of a different color, and that the color was the same color of the stone that appeared on the Choshen, on the breastplate of the Kohen Gadol, the stone that represented that tribe. So it's not clear to us that the Torah lists the 12 stones, but to reduce it to our knowledge of precious stones, there are many different interpretations. But it's clear that it was meant to give a uniqueness to the tribe. Every tribe had a different color. There were no two alike. And that therefore, the Torah seems to emphasize the difference more than the unity, which is a very interesting concept. But we see that throughout Jewish history, that people, so to speak, have been more loyal to their difference than to what unites them. And in fact, throughout human history, we identify ourselves by what we are not, much more than what we are. So there's a medrash here in the Parsha, a very long medrash, that discusses the flags. And the medrash teaches us that not only was there a color on the flag, but that on the flag there was a figure or a form or a pattern that represented the history of that tribe, the origin of it, its history. So for instance, the Medrash says that the flag of the tribe of Reuven had the dudoim, had the flowers, the mandrakes that Reuven gathered to give to his mother Leah, and that Leah gave to Rochel. And that was the symbol of the tribe. So again, why that should identify Reuven out of everything else in his glorious life that he did. So again, apparently the Torah read into that action of Reuven the true identity of Reuven. And therefore that became the symbol on the flag on top of the color that was assigned. The tribe of Shimon had on its flag a picture of a city, the city of Shem. So again, why would they have put the city of Shem on the flag? Especially since Yaakov Avinu was so negative to them regarding what they did to the city of Shem. But apparently the tribe of Shimon felt, that the Medrash points out, that their action in defending the honor of their sister was so necessary that it became the symbol of the tribe. So that on its flag was the city of Shem. Now Levi, as I mentioned, was not part of these equations. Levi had no flag, even though when we have here, as in most synagogues, some sort of replica of the symbol of the tribes. So the Leviim always have the tribe of Levi as the Choshen Mishpat, the 12 stones, as the symbol of its essence. And that's based on the posuk that Moshe Rabbeinu gave them to Mecha v'Urecha li'ish chasidecha. It's identified by the Urim V'Tumim. And the Urim V'Tumim was in the Choshen. And therefore that was the tribe that it had. So when they came to Yehuda, for instance, so Yehuda was blessed to be like a lion. So on its flag was the figure of a lion. And that's why it says Miteref b'ni Oliso. And the Yehuda became the symbol of Malchus. And the lion is the king of the beasts. So it became the symbol of Malchus, of royalty. And it's true not only in Jewish world, but it's true in the general world as well. The kings are always represented by lions. It came to Yisachar. So the Moshe Rabbeinu said, Yodei binim liito. They knew how to figure out the calendar. They were the great astronomers of the Jewish people. So therefore they had the figure of the sun and the moon and of stars on their flag. It came to Zvulun. So Zvulun was blessed by Moshe that they would be the merchants, the seafarers, the ones that would go all over the world to bring trade. So their symbol was a ship, a boat. And according to the Medrash, this was again supposed to define the essence of the tribe. And it defined it not only by what the tribe was, but what the tribe was not. I have a question that all the Balei Halacha raise. Are you allowed to do this? Are you allowed to make a form? For instance, we said Yisachar had a sun and the moon and the stars. Lo saseh lecho kol peseh v'chol tmuna. You're not allowed to make such a pictorial representation. So how did they do it? So from here we have the basic halacha, which remains until today, that is something that is not three-dimensional is not included in the Isser of creating images. And since the flag was flat, so therefore it was not a problem. The question of a three-dimensional representation, it was raised, especially in the 19th century, when the science of photography became developed. So there were many pious Jews who never wanted their picture taken, and who felt that the representation on the film was on the way to being a violation of lo saseh lecho kol peseh v'chol tmuna. A famous legend, the son of the Chofetz Chaim, Meir HaKohen, writes of it in his biography of his father, that in the early 1920s, the Chofetz Chaim wanted to leave Poland and move to Eretz Yisrael. And he made an application to get the certificates, the necessary documentation to be able to do so. One of the requirements was that you needed a photograph of yourself. The Chofetz Chaim never in his life, his father writes, willingly allowed his picture to be taken, though we do have a picture of the Chofetz Chaim with his family standing outside his home in Radin. And apparently he must have been aware that the photographer was taking it. But anyway, the story that the son of the Chofetz Chaim says is that the Chofetz Chaim didn't want to sit for the passport picture. So what he did is he took the Sheikhet of Radin and he sent him that he should take the picture, because they had a feeling that the Polish passport authorities, all the Chinese looked alike. It wouldn't make a difference. So that picture of the Sheikhet of Radin is the famous picture of the Chofetz Chaim that everybody has. Not the Chofetz Chaim. Lately, over the past few years, we have discovered actual photographs taken of the Chofetz Chaim, and it's obvious that the famous picture is not him. But there was amongst the Hasidic Rebbeim, they did not want their picture taken. So the shaila of photography became a shaila in halacha, whether or not that violates that principle. So again, most of the poskim hold it's not a problem, again, because it's two-dimensional. and that anything that's two-dimensional is not a real representation. The difference would be a statue, something that was carved, that had depth to it, that was three-dimensional. So then the shaila would be actual. But regarding a flat picture, that didn't seem to be a problem. And that's the way the halacha is today. So like today, you can't have a wedding without a photographer. And all sorts of other things. And then there's the whole shaila arose, what is photography? So in today's world, the shaila changed because most of us, we don't have cameras anymore. You take the picture with your telephone, which is really just a bunch of pixels that you're putting together. There's nothing there. So maybe that doesn't violate anything. Not a question of anything. And from this, there developed an entire literature of halacha regarding questions of photographic images. But the Jewish people had flags in the desert. Later on, when they came to Eretz Yisrael, the Meforshim discussed whether or not the flags remained. And then the symbolism of flags and what became the national symbol of the Jewish people, all of which flows from these ideas that the Torah mentions in this week's parsha. So we're coming out of Yom Yerushalayim, a lot of flags around, because it gives, the flag gives us a memory jolt as to who we are and what happened. Therefore, people have a loyalty to a piece of cloth that many times they don't have even to other human beings. Rabbi Hanania ben Akash, Omer Ratzah HaKadosh Baruch Hu V'Zakos Yisrael, V'ficha chirba lahem Torah mitzvot shene'emar, Adonai chavei tzuman tzidko yagdil Torah yadi.